Hallo again. Wir machen jetzt weiter mit Serendipity. Ich musste erstmal googeln, was das bedeutet. Das bedeutet glücklicher Zufall, für die, die es nicht wissen. Aber ich bin gespannt. Aber jetzt mal so ganz am Rande, ja? Wir wissen ja, wir kommen ja den ganzen Näherungen von Cove kommen wir ja näher. Ich glaube, in Happiness passieren Dinge. Glaube ich. Oder vielleicht bei Boating. Das wissen wir noch nicht. Aber vielleicht. Aber das erfahren wir dann wahrscheinlich erst nächste Woche oder so. Aber jetzt machen wir erstmal mit Serendipity weiter. Ja. Light filtered down through the leaves of an oak tree overhead, casting speckled shadows on the sidewalk all around you. There was a drop of sweat slowly making its way down the side of your face. You flicked it away with your thumb, slowing to a stop in the cool shade. The day had you out and about in town, in no hurry to go anywhere in particular. Your morning shift had just ended and there was nothing else planned for the rest of the afternoon. Your moms were still at work themselves, and Liz had left early in the morning to do something. You had no idea what. You took out your phone, idly noting the time when it started to buzz, the screen lit up in your hand. Speak of the devil, Liz messaged you. Come home as soon as possible. Okay, before you could even begin to question why, your phone went off again. Nothing bad, but you have to see this come back already. Okay, chill. And with that final message, you were left only slightly less confused than you were before. You hadn't seen much of your sister lately. She had been acting strange for days, always shutting herself up in her room. Which wouldn't be so weird if at the dinner table she didn't suddenly start smirking to herself over nothing. The rare times you did see her, she would sneak you expectant looks like she was waiting to be asked what was up, but all your questions led nowhere. She'd answer you with a put-upon sigh, proclaim that she was busy, and tell you that she wouldn't have to talk about it later. That she would have to talk about it later. No hints, no guessing. Whatever it was, she was determined to keep it a secret. Maybe now you'd finally find out what it was. As you did in about face on the sidewalk and started heading home, you received more texts. To your surprise, the name that popped up on the screen this time was Cove's. Did you hear from Liz? About some urgent thing you have to see? She messaged Cove too. You weren't surprised. Liz teased him about it, but he was like family. However, you were struggling to understand how he fit into Liz's surprise. Yeah, Liz sent me the same thing. What? Is there something on fire? Why would Liz tell you her news? Ach so. So, yeah, Liz sent me the same thing. What? Is there something on fire? Why would Liz tell you her news? Yeah, Liz sent me the same thing. His reply came only seconds later as you waited to cross the street. I figured she would. Are you going to see what's up? I'm walking there right now. Me too. Glancing up, you saw that the light had changed to a walk sign while you were busy texting. You hurriedly wrapped things up, texting Cove a quick goodbye before crossing the street. It was fine. You'd be seeing him later anyway. Not expecting any more messages, you put your phone away so you could walk without having to worry about tripping over the curb. Thankfully, it was a short trek home, and soon enough you were walking up your street, the familiar face of your house already in view. Thinking of what might be waiting at home was making you worried, left you entirely lost, felt exciting. Was making you worried, weil, bei Gott, was passiert da jetzt? The sight of your front door had you swallowing uneasily. Liz said it wasn't anything bad, but in the back of your head, you couldn't shake that faint worry. Lost in your thoughts, you almost didn't see who was walking further up the street. Cove. Even from the back, the bright sea green color of his hair was unmistakable. You quickened your pace to catch up to him, the scuff of your shoes loud against the pavement. He heard it instantly, not missing a beat, as he turned towards you and slowed his steps in sync.
Hey.
Hey, Jenny. Hi. Here we are at my house. At that, Cove gave you a wry smile. Here we are. It sounded almost like a question, wondering why the two of you had been summoned there. Any ideas on what Liz wants us for? You shook your head. The situation was out of character for your sister. Anything could happen. Well, I guess we should go in and find out. Taking his cue, you grabbed your keys and opened up the front door. Cove trailed behind you as you entered. You nervously stuck your head through the doorway and peered about, not sure what you were looking for or looking out for. From the entryway, you could see Liz pacing across the living room, her smile gaze intent on her phone. You had caught her just as she had completed a turn. Behind you, the door clicked shut. The second she heard it, her head darted up to your direction, her features lighting up at the sight of you and Cove. Ah, you arrived and together too. That's perfect, just perfect. She flashed you a radiant smile. You could almost see her limbs vibrating as if she was poised to pounce. Cove raised an eyebrow at your sister's bizarre behavior. What's going on? This better be important. You're in a good mood today. So, what is it? Where is it? What were you gonna show us? You quietly waited to see what she would reveal. Ja, wir sagen mal so, you're in a good mood today. Liz only hummed playfully in response. Liz's eyes narrowed with a mischievous. Junge! Wie spricht man diese Kacke aus? Das heißt doch mischief. Mischievous glint. And she let out a little cackle. So lately, I've been hard at work on a little plan of mine, and you two get the honor of seeing it all come together. Here it is. Surprise! She lifted a hand in the air to present the very comfortable but completely mundane living room. In the resulting silence, you and Cove glanced around again and then made eye contact with each other. His face mirrored your bafflement. Then suddenly another voice rang out in the room.
Surprise!
Shiloh? Shiloh? Kommt Shiloh wieder zurück? Ah! Cove flinched at the shout, his shoulders shooting up to his ears. Laughter came from your sister as well as from the other side of the room. Shiloh! Your head whipped around just in time to see a familiar figure with a freckled face and a purple cap springing up from behind the back of the couch. Cove's mouth fell open, recognition immediately coming to him. Shiloh? Hi, Cove. Hi, Jenny. Shiloh greeted the two of you so casually, like he'd been gone for 10 days rather than 10 years. Shiloh! You were too stunned to speak. What in the world were you doing there? You started laughing, but I thought you weren't the Shiloh we knew. You're actually here. Shiloh! Der Süße. Like Cove, you found yourself shouting your long-lost companion's name out of sheer disbelief. It couldn't be him, but it was really him, here, in your living room. With a wide grin on her face, Liz snickered and clapped her hands together, as pleased as a child after a fruitful night of trick-or-treating. Ich mach da jetzt erstmal Dings draus. So, you and Cove's reactions were adequate offerings in her bucket full of treats. As amazed as you were still wondering one thing. What happened? You had no idea who we were when we, wie viele Ws, ran into each other. Aww. Shiloh's gaze self-consciously dropped to the side. He tucked the brim of his hat down, bracing himself to answer, but Liz waved a hand at him as if to say, don't worry about it. I'll explain. When we got home that day, I changed my mind about letting it go. Why did I have to? Social media exists, right? So I thought, why not try finding him and sending him a little reminder message? Luckily, there are only so many 17-year-old Shiloh-fields in the world. It wasn't that hard to do. Hearing Liz speak seemed to encourage Shiloh, who pulled himself together to face both of you and your sister with a careful smile. Warte mal, war Shiloh so alt wie wir oder war er jünger als wir? Er war ein Jahr jünger, kann das sein? 1 oder 2 Jahre, ne? Der war doch jünger. Weil, waren wir nicht irgendwie 10 und er war dann 8 oder so? War das nicht irgendwie so?
Sorry.
I'm really sorry about what happened. When you talked to me that first time, I was in the middle of a tour for a school field trip. I couldn't get separated from the group and didn't expect anyone to want to be talking to me. I was so worried about getting back to everyone else, I didn't think too hard on what you were saying. But when Lizzie's message showed up, everything suddenly hit me. Lizzie, Jenny, Cove, you were the kids of Sunset Bird back when I was a little kid. Der war, glaube ich, jünger. Ja, weil wir sind ja fertig mit Schule. Wir haben ja unseren Abschluss schon gemacht und er geht ja noch in die Schule. Also muss er ja jünger sein. There's no way I could forget that. Not for real. I do know all of you and I'm so happy I get to see you again. I have Lizzie to thank for that. My mom was already planning to take a short trip near here this summer.
Well,
If my mom could bring me along, Lizzie offered to pick me up and bring me the rest of the way here just so I could visit the neighborhood again. And that's why I decided to make it a big reveal instead of outright telling you two. I got back in contact with Shiloh. Once again, she lifted a hand in the air, properly presenting. Long lost childhood friend you all shared. Oh, hast du das vielleicht geskippt? Also wenn du das DLC vor der Hauptstory spielst. Was? Was meinst du denn? Was soll ich geskippt haben? Hä? Was soll ich denn geskippt haben? Da trifft man ja auf Shiloh. In der Hauptstory, ja, da sind wir auf Shiloh getroffen. Das ist wahr. Da war er nämlich, wie er gesagt hat, da war er auf diesem Fieldtrip. Und wir haben ihn angesprochen, aber er hat so getan, als wir, also, beziehungsweise, er hat so gesagt, so, wer seid ihr? Hä? Bla bla. Sowas in der Art. Und das hat er ja gerade eben nochmal Revue passieren lassen, was da passiert ist, warum er das gemacht hat. Das kam in der Hauptstory vor, ja. Da habe ich aber noch nicht so ganz, also da habe ich auch schon drüber nachgedacht, ob er wirklich jünger war als wir. Aber ich habe es nicht ausgesprochen. Und jetzt, wo das halt nochmal aufgekommen ist, dachte ich so, ja okay, jetzt kann ich das ja auch wirklich mal nochmal fragen. Weil ich mir nicht mehr so ganz sicher war, ob er auch wirklich jünger als wir war. Aber scheint ja doch so gewesen zu sein. So. So, tada! It was impressive how it all came together. Alright, still pretty stupid of you not to realize sooner. You were glad they were able to see each other again. You were amused at their stunt. You were unsure what to feel about it. It was impressive how it all came together. You never could have planned seeing Shiloh that day, to think it would lead to this. You raised your hands and started clapping for Liz. Achso, und übrigens kann ich ja die DLCs gar nicht vor der Hauptstory spielen. Man kommt zwangsweise, wenn man den Step beendet, also wenn man die DLCs von dem Step beendet und dann ins nächste gehen will, dann kann man, also dann springt man direkt in die Hauptstory. Man kann erst danach auf die Momente gehen. Hatte ich das jetzt schon vor? Ja, doch, hatte ich. Thank you. You've been a wonderful audience. Cove blinked slowly, still a little dazed by everything that was going on.
Uh-huh.
Okay, going to get some water. Don't disappear or anything. Oh Gott, der Süße. He padded off to the kitchen. No need for chaperone. Chaperone? He knew where the cups were. Achso, okay. Wow, you really surprised him, Lizzie. And Jenny too. Did you see her face when I appeared? Shiloh, wenn du wüsstest, was du alles verpasst hast. Yes, I did. Liz patted the cushioned front of the couch. Make yourself comfortable. You don't have to keep hunkering down behind there anymore. With a laugh, Shiloh crossed the round backside and took the seat, but maybe it was awkward being the only one sitting because he kept idly twiddling his fingers. You could hear him humming to himself, a nonsense tune with no real melody, something to keep his voice busy. Being here again could be more nerve-wracking for him than he let on. Cove's soft voice announced his return. He paused to drag the back of his hand across his mouth, wiping away what droplets of water lingered there. Hi, Shiloh. Welcome back? At Cove's confused greeting, Shiloh laughed cheerily. Thanks. I think it's amazing you're all still here in the same neighborhood. It's just like how it was way back then. Du hast so viele Dinge verpasst, Shiloh. With a giggle that implied differently, Liz nodded in your general direction.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some changes since then. You narrowed your eyes at Liz. There was no way you could miss the teasing look she was fixing you and Cove with. Hä? Der Arme, der kriegt doch gleich einen Herzinfarkt. Shiloh's eyes shifted across the group, still smiling politely, but there was a slight tilt to his eyebrows. He didn't know what to make of what she was saying, that is, until Cove cleared his throat and spoke. Jo, das ist so aufregend. Das ist so aufregend. Das ist so aufregend. Ich krieg Gänsehaut. Jenny and I are dating. It was fascinating how red he got as he said it, but his voice was steady, confident. By now, most people knew you were going out. Shiloh's eyes went as wide as saucers. Saucers? A mouth opening into a tiny O shape.
Congratulations! That's
Yo.
amazing!
Oh, Shiloh! Really? Congratulations! It's really sweet that the two of you got closer. Wir waren schon immer close. You silently blushed. Cove's got himself a keeper. Yeah, it was pretty inevitable we'd end up together. I wouldn't want to be with anyone else. He just smiled at Cove. Was machen wir denn jetzt? Ich glaube, wir smilen. Wir smilen. Wir können natürlich auch sowas ein bisschen lockerer machen, aber wir smilen. Wir sind ja auch glücklich und so, ne? You just smiled at Cove. He hooked his fingers around yours, returning the smile with a crooked one of his own, as easy as anything. Shiloh sighed happily at the moment as Cove raised an eyebrow and gave the room a considering glance. Hey, this is where we met the first time, remember? Right after I moved in, me and Jenny, der Esel nennt sich zuerst, were brought down right here to have a playdate with you. Yeah. Shiloh laughed, his eyebrows downcast as he fiddled with the corner with the corner of his collared shirt. We almost didn't meet in the living room because you wanted to jump out the window to get away from me. Stimmt dabei aus. Cove cringed at the memory of his younger self being pushed back to the forefront of his mind. His mouth going tight, he awkwardly looked away from Shiloh. You have a good memory.
Oh?
Oh? I don't think so. Seeing this place again just brings lots of things back. He clapped his hands together, an idea suddenly coming to him. But hey, now that our group is together, would you want to go out and visit some of the old places? I've been hiding in the living room since I got here. Liz wasn't afraid to laugh at herself, bringing a hand to her chest to silently take the blame for that. I'd love to. Yeah. Without missing a beat, the others turned to you for your answer. Definitely. Da brauche ich die anderen gar nicht mal überprüfen. Sounds like fun. And with that, the four of you headed out into the neighborhood as one. Even with how short the time you spent indoors was, the sun was momentarily blinding once you left the house. Squinting, you brought your hand up to shield your eyes. The pleasant summer day had yet to go away, only a few wispy clouds drifted along in the sky. As you strolled down the way, Liz took the lead, followed by you and Cove walking side by side. Shiloh freely took to walking in the middle of the road, his arms idly swinging back and forth at his sides as he turned his head every which way to take in as much as he could. Ich bin so müde gerade. Ich habe gerade ein richtig heftiges Tief. Why? It was very much a trip down memory lane for him. You wondered how much the neighborhood had changed in his eyes. Not a word passed between the group about where you were heading first, but soon enough you found yourself walking the usual path to the shopping street. Before you reached it, the sounds of it did a collective of sandals tracking sand, the shrill calls of seagulls, the overlapping conversations of beachgoers, and random strains of music from various stalls. Wow! The odd gasp had come from Shiloh. His eyes were all lit up. Were there always so many different stores in one place?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Wow, I can see why so many people come here. Hey, do they still have those nice little ice cream stands? Yeah, that hasn't changed. Yay, we should get some. It'll be my treat. Thanks, Shiloh. Ice cream sounds perfect on such a hot day. How about you, Cove? You could see that unlike Liz, Cove was struggling with the decision, brow wrinkled in thought. Finally, a hesitant smile appeared on his face as he settled on keeping to the spirit of the special occasion. Yeah, sounds good to me. Awesome, and Jenny? I'd like that. Thanks, I don't want any. I'd rather pay for myself. I'll buy one for me and one for you, Shiloh. I don't want one, but I'll pay for yours, Shiloh. Wenn er schon anbietet, so I'd like that. Thanks. Shiloh gave you a wide grin as if you were the one buying him ice cream. The four of you continued to walk as ice cream plans were further discussed. Are you getting a popsicle, Lizzie? Yes. Hearing that, Shiloh smiled shyly. I thought you might still like them. Like that. I'm gonna get an ice cream cone. Shiloh began to turn towards Cove, but before he could ask, Cove offered up his choice. I'll get an ice cream sandwich. I'm gonna get a popsicle, an ice cream cone, an ice cream sandwich too. Was Ice Cream Cone ist die Waffel, ne? Die so geht. Oder? Warum haben die keinen Becher? Ui. Yes, okay. Ice Cream Cone. Nein, aber wir nehmen ein Ice Cream Sandwich. Lässt sich besser und schneller essen. Oder? Aber es könnte tropfen. Nee, wir nehmen ein Ice Cream Cone. Shiloh had the right idea for this one. It was the best choice. There was an ice cream stall further up the street, across from a souvenir shop displaying postcards of the seaside and saltwater taffy in its windows. The stand itself was already hard to miss with its pastel pinks and blues and its eye-catching poster boards listing every individual flavor. It was impossible to ignore once the catchy little jingle playing from its speakers was added. Shiloh greeted the owner and began picking out the treats that everyone had chosen. He paid for them before handing them out to their respective owners. Sinking your teeth into your ice cream cone, you relished the sweet chill it left in your mouth. Liz was right. This was a perfect treat for a summer day. Around you, everyone was eating at their own pace. Liz held her popsicle away from herself, careful not to let it drip onto her dress. She was trying to go about eating it as delicately as she could while Shiloh dug into his. You counted only 2 or 3 bites before Cove had devoured his sandwich. Aha, Cove is also a devourer. Shiloh laughed, also noticing the way Cove inhaled his food. It's already finished? Cove shrugged a little in reply, his attention more focused on crumpling up the sandwich wrapper in his hand. So, what have you been doing around here since I've been gone? Well, I already told you about me attending college away from here, so I don't really live here anymore. But to be more specific on my life, I'm pursuing a degree in architecture. Shiloh perked up at that, his mouth falling open in awe. Amazing!
Thanks.
Thanks! Actually, I was thinking about it, and the first time I really decided I liked buildings and building them was when you and I would make sandcastles out on the beach. Aww!
Aw.
Aww! Lizzie! At such a sincere admission from your sister, all Shiloh could do was blush and lower his head, too flattered to know what else to say. Liz laughed, just as flustered though she had been the one to say it. Aww, the atmosphere was awkward but not unpleasant. Shiloh shyly glanced over at you and Cove. Then, what about you two? What have you been up to?
Oh.
Me and Jenny just graduated. High school, I mean. I've got a part-time job. I volunteer at this organization to clean up stuff. Things like that. You nodded along with Cove. You idly explained how you're doing normal things. That's a secret. You explained how you had a lot of plans. I'm mainly taking it easy right now. You idly explained how you're doing normal things. Ja. Weil wir sind ja tatsächlich nicht in diesem freiwilligen Verein. Wir machen hier keine Freiwilligenarbeit. You felt there wasn't anything super interesting to share about your life. What you cared about was important to you, but you knew it wasn't always the same for other people. Charlotte just seemed happy to hear it.
Great!
Great! Being around him again was a little like picking up an old forgotten habit, clunky at first, but as the 4 of you talked, it started to come more naturally. And when one of you ran out of things to say, suddenly someone else remembered something new. Oh right, do you remember those mean old, not actually grandparents that used to live in our neighborhood? Yeah, they were so mean. Well, they're not here anymore. Oh no! They're not spending summers here anymore, they're still alive. Thank goodness. It helped that Shiloh was just as eager to hear what had gone on in his absence as people were to tell him. Soon everyone threw out what trash they had in a nearby garbage can as your group made their way down to the beach. Going down the shore inevitably led to a certain spot. It didn't take very long for Shiloh to recognize what was in the distance. His words trailed off in the middle of a sentence, his footsteps faltering at first. Und Maxi, guten Morgen, wie geht's dir? Wir haben eigentlich schon Mittag, guten Mittag. Then all at once he broke away from the group and dashed right into the old park, giggling as he ran. Ran. Run, ran. Ne? Gut, dir? Mir geht's auch gut. Oh, everything's so small. Ja? His laughter petered out as he came to a stop by the swings and grabbed hold of one of the support poles. He walked in a little circle around it, marveling at how easily his hand wrapped around its entirety. Emboldened by Shiloh's enthusiasm, Liz plopped herself down on one of the swing sets, only to instantly show an expression of regret. There was no way she was comfortable in that tiny seat so low to the ground, not with how she had to scrunch up her legs to fit there. Shiloh creeped up behind her. He took hold of the chains of her swing, one in each hand.
Seriously?
What are you doing? And with a grin, Shiloh started walking back. Liz shifted in her seat to look at him. You cannot be trying to push me. These are made for kids. It's never gonna work. Oh doch, die halten aus. Keine Sorge. But Shiloh just hummed and kept pulling her back. Resigning herself to her fate, Liz tucked her legs up as much as possible as Shiloh moved his hands through her back. With a running start, he got her forward and up as far as he could go before jumping out of the way. Liz had her eyes squeezed shut, a screech escaping her as the swing started falling backwards, and when it swung back around, there was Shiloh again to push her. Ob ich nochmal eingepennt bin? Maybe. Das macht doch nichts, Nilmo. Schlaf ist wichtig. Ich könnte auch gerade einschlafen. Mache ich nach dem Stream. Erstmal kurz pennen. She couldn't kick the ground like when you were kids. Her legs were too long for that now, but Shiloh was pushing her enough to keep the momentum going. The air was filled with their wild laughter and the almost rhythmic jangle of the swing chains. Cove sat against the bars of the jungle gym, wearing a bland smile as he watched them. He was fiddling with something, turning it over and over in his hands. When you craned your neck to get a better view, he obliquely lifted it for you to see. It was a piece of shell, one side rough and mottled gray, the other side completely smooth, revealing a faint blue sheen when it caught the light. I saw it on the beach. It's nice, isn't it? Yeah, it's a good one. No, I meant Shiloh. He seems more confident than I remember. Stimmt. Yo. I think so too. You found it amazing to be playing with Shiloh at the park again. You thought it was crazy how much time had gone by. Why don't you push me on the swings like that? You left the conversation there. Ganz im Ernst. Wir sind gerade total durchgedudelt, okay? Nee, du hast mich so eingeduselt. Freut mich, dass ich so einschläfernd wirke. Man kann es positiv als auch negativ nehmen. Ich nehme es positiv auf. Weil das bedeutet ja, dass ich sehr ruhig rüberkomme, sehr entspannend wirke. Und das ist ja auch etwas, was nicht jeder kann. Deswegen, ich finde es gut. Why don't you push me on the swings like that? Cove raised an eyebrow at you as if the idea had just occurred to him. I didn't know you wanted me to. Well, he had you there. Soon your sister began to speak out. All right, I'm ready to get off now. How do you stop this? Don't worry. Shiloh braced himself, one foot planted forward as the swing started coming back down. Then in one quick motion, he reached up and caught the chains again. The impact had his feet skidding back in the sand, but he kept his stance steady. If Liz was surprised at suddenly being brought to a halt, she didn't show it, only tilting her head up to smile at him. Shiloh had yet to catch his breath, though returned the smile just as brightly. He let go of the chains, walking around the swing set and briefly rubbing his hands together before offering one to Liz, which she graciously accepted, needing the help to get out of the tiny seat. And then the two of them made their way back over to you and Cove. Liz was looking more ruffled than usual, and her sun hat was off kilter, having held on for dear life for the entire ride. She took a moment to straighten her outfit back into place. That looked like fun. It was, even though you're just pushing me on the swings. Yep, that was the fun part.
Huh.
Hey, Shiloh. You've got an idea of what our lives have been like since you've been gone, but I've been wondering what happened to you after you moved away. Oh. Shiloh's eyes went wide, as if it was surprising to hear. You couldn't recall him talking about himself when you were all telling stories, but maybe he hadn't been able to find the right timing. He brought his hand to his chin, tapping it thoughtfully as he looked up and to the side. Well, what happened was my mom decided to move back to the south, closer to where I was born. We stayed there for a few years until she got another job offer in California again, thanks to a connection she had there. It was a really good job at a private boarding school, so she decided to take it. With a wide grin, he said the next part. And as a bonus, her kid, me, gets to attend the school and live in the dorms for free. I've been there since my second year of middle school. Pretty soon I'm gonna be starting my last year of high school. Das heißt, er ist ein Jahr jünger als wir. Das heißt, wir sind 18. Gut, das haben wir jetzt geklärt. Liz leaned towards him with an attentive smile on her face. Have you been doing well there? Getting good grades? Got any friends? At the list of questions, Shiloh had his hands in front of himself, as if they were physical things he could stave off. Yeah, to everything. It can be a little hard sometimes because of how people are in that school, but I'm happy. How people are? Cove couldn't guess what that meant, but Liz folded her arms, scowling. Don't tell me there's more people. Don't tell me there's more people. Don't tell me there's more people like that Nate guy hanging around. Shiloh rubbed at his cheek, laughing nervously. He glanced from the bars of the jungle gym to the laces of his shoes to the tree swaying in the distance, unsure of where to rest his gaze. Not exactly. Nate doesn't mean to be mean. He's just kind of... is. Hold your fishies. Hold your fishies. Chat. Was passiert hier gerade? Warum, wenn es jetzt gerade... Warum weiß er noch, dass er Nate heißt? First things first, okay? Warum weiß er noch, dass er Nate heißt? Warum sagt er so, er möchte eigentlich gar nicht böse sein? Und warum blusht Shiloh? Warum? What is happening, Shiloh? We want the tea. Ich will Tea. Please tell me the tea. Das ist sehr suspicious, ne? Come on, let's check this. He's the school's #1 performer for athletics and academics. He always takes on so much responsibility that the only possible way he can finish it all is if absolutely nothing goes wrong. But that's impossible, so he's always stressed and ready to snap. He can't handle it when someone seems to be causing a problem. That's why during the field trip he was upset when I went off on my own like that. So, oh mein Gott, es ging um jemanden. Ich habe da jemanden verwechselt. Oh mein Gott, das ist auch wieder... Nur ich kann so dumm sein, ne? Nur ich kann's dumm sein. Ich dachte, Nate war jetzt der eine da, den wir kennengelernt haben, der auf dem Geburtstag von Miranda... Ja, genau, ich meinte dieses Akro-Kind, dieses... Eltern sind blöd, Eltern machen immer alles alleine. Ne. Dieses Kind. Und Freddy, willkommen zurück. Oh mein Gott, ich dachte, er meint dieses Kind. Okay. Bei dem anderen, da haben wir keine Relation zu, okay. Aber trotzdem, da haben wir auch immer noch den Aspekt, warum hat Shiloh geblusht? Warum ist Shiloh rot geworden? So. Still, he's really smart and reliable and sensitive, and he cares a lot. Most of the time, he doesn't even realize his way of dealing with stuff upsets other people. Kov had a patient smile on his face, listening earnestly as Shiloh rattled off his list of Nate's good traits. You know him pretty well. Are you actually friends? Ist das? Ich sage es nicht, ich vermute es nur. In meinem Kopf. Well, not exactly. Me and Nate are in the same after-school group. About once a month, me, 6 other students, and a supervisor get together to talk. Shiloh, jetzt spill the tea, eh? We did it a lot of last year, and I think next year we're gonna be in the same group again. I hope so. Nice. After school group to talk? Ist das vielleicht sowas wie eine Hilfegruppe? Ich habe keine Ahnung. Aber ich glaube, Shiloh mag Nate. Jetzt habe ich es ausgesprochen. Nice. That's weird. Why would you want to be in a group with him? I'm glad Nate's not so bad after all. You didn't comment on it. Also, wir machen jetzt genau das gleiche wie vorhin. Und zwar, ich möchte wissen, was passiert, wenn ich diese Antwort, also why would you want to be in a group with him, passiert, weil ich nicht weiß, in welcher Art das gleich dann rübergebracht wird. Ob das jetzt so ein abfälliges, warum willst du denn mit dem in einer Gruppe sein ist, oder so ein, warum willst du denn mit ihm in einer Gruppe sein? Ob das da ein Unterschied ist, wisst ihr? Und ansonsten, wenn es dann halt eher negativ konnotiert ist, dann machen wir zurück und dann sagen wir einfach so, ja okay, schön, dass er doch nicht so kacke ist. Weil ich finde das manchmal schwierig, einfach nur so vom Lesen, wenn da jetzt nichts dabei steht, herauszufinden, ob es jetzt im positiven oder negativen Beigeschmack hat. Und Jan, guten Morgen, wie geht's dir? Bin seit 10 Minuten wach und habe gerade gesehen, dass du live bist. Dann guten Morgen, wahrhaftig. Wir haben eigentlich Mittag, aber guten Morgen. So, why would you want to be in a group with him? Despite Shiloh vouching for him, you still weren't convinced that Nate could be any sort of pleasant to be around. Liz vigorously nodded along with you in total agreement. Okay, wir gucken weiter. Personally, I'd still appreciate having a word with Nate about his communication skills. Ach so, okay, das war jetzt Liz. Her tone of voice was low and pointed. You'd be worried for Nate if not for the playful smile that accompanied her words. Charlotte let out a little laugh at that. I do have... Ja, natürlich, wenn die in einer Gruppe sind. Ich war gerade eben schon so, oh mein Gott. I do have Nate's number, but he wouldn't pick up. The people in my group only answer when they feel like hearing from me, so usually I have to wait for them to call. Either that or they'd never even considered answering my calls or calling me or talking to me at all unless the supervisor forces them to. It was such a bleak description of his dynamic with his group, but he didn't seem to realize it until he glanced up and saw the concerned looks on everyone's faces. His smile fell. He hastened to add one more thing. Well, except for one who'll always answer for sure. Oh? She immediately perked up.
Really?
So that's a friend of yours? He hesitated to answer, something Cove picked up on. Not exactly? Yeah, I'd like to be friends though. Alright. Liz crossed her arms together once more, grim-faced, like she was the commander of a ship about to lead her little crew into battle. You should call them, right now. What? If you want to be friends with them, I can help. If you're going to be in the same group again, then you should at least try to get along. No, I couldn't. He quickly grew flustered, his tongue stumbling over his sentences. I don't want to be a bother.
I mean...
Liz, what are we going to do? Watch him while he talks to someone on the phone? No, Cove. Shiloh... the last syllable of Shiloh's name trailing off into nothing, it soon became clear Liz had not fully thought of the plan yet, but she wouldn't be Liz if she just stopped there. Shiloh could put them on a video call and we could all talk together, of course. She clapped her hands together, a wide smile on her face that didn't leave room for dissenting opinions.
All right.
It's a good idea, it'll work. Können wir uns einfach enthalten? You had no words for that. Ich möchte nicht sagen, dass das absolut eine gute Idee ist. Ich möchte aber auch nicht sagen, dass es eine brachiale, einfach nur Kacke ist. You had no words for that. Cove gave you a long-suffering sigh at Liz's suggestion. Come on, Shiloh. We'll just talk to them. Say that we're your friends from out of town. The worst that could happen is nothing changes. But once they have more chances to talk to you, I know they'll be convinced to be better friends. It's going to turn out okay. Shiloh stalled to answer, but his hand was already hovering over one of the pockets of his pants. All right, we can talk. Yes! Oh Gott, jetzt bin ich gespannt. Oh, jetzt habe ich nicht gelesen. Liz clenched a hand into a fist, cheering as Shiloh officially reached into the pocket and pulled out his phone. You noticed it was the same type of model as your own, but his had a red case around it. The screen lit up and Shiloh requested a video call with some number in his contacts. None of them on the list had names. He must remember what number belongs to what person. Oha, was? He inched closer to the three of you so everyone could hear better. Vaguely, you wondered how this looked from the outside. 4 teenagers on the verge of adulthood, hanging out on an old playground, all huddled up around a single phone. Strange? Suspicious? The ringing of the phone broke you out of your musings. You kept your eyes on it, your heart speeding at the end of each dial tone, thinking, could this be it? Only to have another startup. It had been ringing for a while when you started to think of what Cove said about all of you watching as Shiloh talked on the phone. Maybe even that wouldn't happen. Shiloh could sense the awkwardness in the air, smiling to try to dispel it. This is normal, don't worry. Ich glaube, das wird gleich richtig unangenehm. Mir geht's extrem gut. Von gestern 21 Uhr bis jetzt 11:40 Uhr geschlafen, also abgerundet 14 Stunden. Boah, kriegst du keine Kopfschmerzen? Just as he said it, the call ended, not even going to voicemail. Shiloh clicked the redial. He never answers on the first call. He always does on the second. That's how he is, at least with most people. There are exceptions. Oh, Shiloh. You, Liz, and Cove furtively shared ambiguous looks, none of you wanting to accidentally discourage Shiloh. Then you focused on the phone again as it started to ring once more. The jingling suddenly cut off in the middle, followed by the faint sound of white noise. With a big smile and flushed cheeks, Shiloh brought the phone up to his face. A voice low and groggy came rasping out of the speakers. Hello? Warte. Hello. Shiloh, on the other hand, was much more chipper.
Hi.
Hi, I'm visiting a town I used to live in when I was little, and I wanted to introduce my groupmate to the people I knew back then. Some of them have already met Nate. Can you say hey to them? And with that rushed introduction, Shiloh stuck the phone out towards Cove, gesturing for him to greet the person on the other end. Although Cove hadn't been on board in the beginning, the only indication of that now was the loop-sided tilt of his smile. He turned his gaze down to the screen, opening his mouth to speak, only to stutter to a complete stop. Huh? Huh? All Cove could do was sputter and gape at the screen. His reaction had Shiloh's brow crinkling in worry. What? What? Shiloh's groupmate didn't sound particularly impressed with how this conversation was going so far. Shiloh frowned, retracting his arm away from Cove. As he did so, the screen tilted towards you and you caught a glimpse of what was on the screen. Ich wusste es! Ich wusste es! Süß. Der sieht süß aus. Aber ich wusste es. Chat, ich wusste es. Ich hab's doch gerochen. Noch bevor alles dahin gedeutet hat, ich hab's schon gerochen. Ich hab ihn einfach schon direkt da eingefügt. Das ist sowas von eine Selbsthilfe- oder Therapiegruppe. Ich glaube auch. Ich glaube auch. Oh mein Gott. Oh mein Gott. Das kann doch nicht gut gehen. Das kann doch nicht gut gehen. Die machen sich noch bis zum heutigen Tag, machen sie sich immer noch über ihn lustig, ne? Will ich nur mal kurz so noch am Rande beigefügt haben. Und Shiloh wirkt so, als würde er ihn mehr mögen. Ich kann das nicht. Ich brauche jetzt erstmal was zu trinken. Das ist doch... Nee, oder? Also ich bin... Wenn er sich verändert hat, dann nice. Wenn Shiloh ihn mag, dann toll, weil ich freue mich für Shiloh. Aber warum er? Warum er? Mann. Aber sonst wäre er ja auch nicht eingeführt worden in die Story, ne? Bin ich auch mal ganz ehrlich. Aber oh Mann, oh Mann, oh Mann, ey. So. Halleluja. Light green hair, sharp orange eyes shadowed with bags, and icy pale skin all tied together to make up the scowling face of a person who clearly had no desire to be here. You had no idea what was going on. You knew him. You knew him. A flood of memories arose, flashes of that one summer years ago at this very same park. You holding onto onto an arrangement on... Kann ich jetzt mal auch bitte reden? Vorlesen? Geht das? You holding onto an arrangement of fruit. Derek and Cove at your side. And that kid, mean as a tiny chihuahua, snapping at everyone who dared to come close. Jeremy, ah yeah. Are you Jeremy? The bowl cut kid, you screamed. Quick, hang up the phone. Wow, you're a lot better looking now. You stared in shock. Okay, ich will nur wissen, was passiert, okay? Ich will nur wissen, was passiert. Ich möchte mal gucken, was passiert, wenn wir sagen, wow, you're a lot better looking now. Aber ansonsten machen wir, are you Jeremy? Ich habe ungelogen den Namen eigentlich vergessen, jetzt aber weiß ich, dass er ja wieder Jeremy hieß. Aber ich möchte wissen, was passiert, wenn wir das machen. Aber das ist voll gemein. Ich weiß, aber ich will wissen, was passiert, weil ich möchte auch wissen, was Cove dann macht. Ich will nur gucken. Danach gehen wir zurück und machen Are You Jeremy? Wow, you're a lot better looking now. Jeremy drew back his nose, wrinkling in disgust. You think I'm appealing? What kind of messed up taste do you have? Ich kann nicht. That's an insult to yourself, him.
So what?
And? Ich habe langsam das Gefühl, dass das wirklich so eine Selbsthilfegruppe ist. Und zwar eine, die mit ganz, ganz wenig Selbstliebe zu tun hat. Selbstwertgefühl. Okay, aber wir...
So what?
Ja, wir machen zurück. Wir fragen jetzt, are you Jeremy? Weil damit wollten wir gehen. Ich wollte ja nur gucken, was passiert. Are you Jeremy? Yeah. His reply was pallidly disinterested. How did you know his name was Jeremy? You didn't tell them? No, I only called you somebody from my group at school. Ich kann das gar nicht. Jeremy regarded you cautiously, for the first time giving the situation a little of his focus. Cove bristled, sucking in a long, deep, dramatic breath.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. And all at once he started shouting, and not just with his voice. He waved his arms around, gesturing wildly with his hands as he repeatedly yelled, "Oh my god," with all sorts of inflections. Oh my god! Oh my god! Cove. At these antics, Jeremy gave a short huff of a sigh through his teeth. The sound tinny over the phone speakers. What is this, Shiloh? Are you trying to make me suffer? Are you still mad about what happened at the amusement park? I was on your side, you know. Huh? Liz, who had been entirely lost this whole time, finally spoke up.
Huh?
What happened at the amusement park? But no one paid that question any mind. I don't know what's going on. Have you met each other before? Nope. Cover our dramatic weird. Yeah. Yep. It was an immediate reply from Jeremy, but then those stinging eyes squinted. Wait. There was a flash of recognition there as he leaned his head forward and scrutinized the both of you. His already white frown somehow found a way to grow deeper at his realization.
Oh, it's you people. Again.
Okay. He looked from Shiloh to Cove and then to you. You could tell he was carefully putting his thoughts together.
Sorry.
Sorry. I have no idea how you people got in contact with me or what Shiloh has to do with this, but sorry. What? Jeremy sighed again. His gaze rolled over to Cove. I don't remember exactly what I did or what I said, but I do know what I was like as a kid. And really, that's all I need to know. Well, okay, but who is that apology for? It better be for me and Jenny. He spoke sternly, though there was no hiding the shakiness present. That didn't matter. Cove coming to your defense by confronting Jeremy brought a warm smile to your face. Ich muss jetzt erstmal hier. Na. So. Jeremy, on the other hand, continued to be unimpressed. The corner of his lip twitched. I didn't need to know what the teenage guy equivalent of a smooshy squeak is, but now I do. Thanks for that. A small offended noise escaped Cove. Unfortunately, it was also squeaky sounding. His face immediately burned red with embarrassment. Sorry. Ich habe hier irgendwie Katzenhaare. Die haben mich gekitzelt. Hey, that's my squeak toy you're talking to. That's my squeak toy you're talking about? You laughed. What a perfect description. Cove is exactly like that. That's it. You better not step foot in this town again. Warte. A small offended noise escaped Cove. Unfortunately, it was also squeaky, so... Warte mal. Ach so. Ach so, okay. Okay. Wir machen einfach nur hey. Wir sagen einfach nur so hey. Taking a small step forward, your hands instinctively curled into fists. You couldn't believe at the first chance he got, Jeremy insulted Cove again. Glancing at Cove to silently ask, can you believe this? You noticed the tiny smile on his face at your offensive on his behalf. Jeremy didn't react at all. He continued watching the four people on the other end of this unwanted call lackadaisically. Was ist das denn jetzt für ein Wort?
Whatever.
The apology is for whoever. Anyone who had to deal with me back then, they weren't having a good time. He shrugged. Jeremy's focus cycled from you to Cove and back again. I kind of remember what happened, I think. You were sensitive and you didn't have much patience for me. That makes sense. Jeremy tilted his head Cove's way and then yours, respectfully. Amazed, Cove took a few processing moments before he could respond. He blinked and rubbed the back of his neck. Oh, thanks. I mean, it's no problem. He just looked away. I've still got my eyes on you. You're lucky you're not here in person. I accept your apology. Thank you, Jeremy. This is honestly incredible. Okay, then. Wir wollen ja auch nicht Shadow jetzt so vor den Kopf stoßen, ne? Deswegen sagen wir jetzt einfach so, ja, okay. I accept your apology. Thank you. This moment was the absolute last thing you had expected today, but you couldn't help but be pleased it happened. Whatever. Following Cove's eye, you watched it dart from Charlotte to Jeremy, openly wondering what had happened to Jeremy over these past few years. So you're nice now?
Nope.
Nope. I don't throw tantrums or pick fights anymore, but I'm not nice. Oh mein Gott, Chat. Man muss sich das einfach nur mal so vorstellen. Sollte Shiloh wirklich Jeremy mögen, also mehr als mögen, wie funktioniert das dann bitte? Also ich glaube, dann hat er eine unerwartete softe Seite an sich, also Jeremy. Und ich glaube, Shiloh könnte, wenn das der Fall ist, auch durchaus richtig auch mal so eine Ansage machen. So, wisst ihr, was ich meine? Also so, dass sie unerwarteterweise genau das Gegensätzliche mal zeigen können von dem, was sie eigentlich sind. Also aber dann füreinander so, wenn sie beieinander sind so. Aber nur, wenn das dann auch wirklich so der Fall ist. Aber Shiloh hat ja vorhin gesagt, er würde gerne befreundet mit ihm sein. Aber ja, we will see. Jeremy shook his head in disbelief. That squeak toy comment wasn't a compliment, you know. I don't have the energy to get angrily worked up like I used to as a kid. It's all pointless anyway. Now I'm just miserable. Ich fühle die beiden extrem. Ich auch. Die beiden zusammen, ich fühle das richtig. Können die bitte zusammenkommen? Ich will das. Kann man nicht die Entwickler irgendwie anschreiben und sagen, wir brauchen so eine Side-Story von den beiden einfach? Einfach so eine kurze Side-Story, die man irgendwie dafür ein paar Euronen kaufen kann und dann kann man sich einfach durch die Story durchklicken. His tone was even grumblier than usual and dragged the syllables out on the last word for extra emphasis. Oh. An awkward laugh escaped Shiloh, then his mouth pulled into a demure smile. Don't let what Jeremy says about himself get you too down. He's got people who care about him and make sure he's okay, like me. Don't listen to Shiloh. It's nice you're looking out for someone else, Shiloh. I don't really care if Jeremy is sad or not. I'm still not over the fact that the two of you actually know each other. You didn't say anything. It's nice you're looking out for someone else, Shiloh. Shiloh blushed at the compliment while Jeremy fixed you with a blank stare. Thanks, Jenny. Okay, seriously, how long am I meant to be out of the loop here? Her expression twisted in frustration as Liz rubbed her right temple. Why am I the only one who doesn't know this kid? Shiloh goes to school with him, that's fine. But how the shoot the two of you meet him and I didn't? You tried to explain. You were there, I think. He was around town one summer, maybe 5 years ago? Is that all? While Liz seemed a bit underwhelmed, Shiloh appeared to be utterly amazed. You had to hold back a small laugh.
Really?
You knew Jeremy as a little kid? What was he like? I've only known him for a year and a half. Well... His voice immediately hushed into nothing. You could see Cove winced just thinking on those past encounters. You reflected on that as well? Actually, Cove does a good Jeremy impression. Why don't you do that instead? Okay, Chat. Wir nehmen, also ich möchte auf jeden Fall You reflected on that as well nehmen, aber ich möchte so gerne wissen, was passiert, wenn wir das machen. Ich will es einfach nur sehen, okay? Also lesen, okay? Wir gehen dann wieder zurück und machen das, aber ich will halt einfach wenn man dieses... Ich möchte niemanden hier auf eine schlechte Seite zwängen oder so oder ein schlechtes Licht auf die werfen lassen. Aber ich möchte halt einfach nur gucken, was dann passiert. Weil wir stoßen ja nicht nur Jeremy dann vor den Kopf, indem wir ihn niedermachen. Wir stoßen auch Cove vor den Kopf, weil wir dann mit im Prinzip sagen, dass Cove sich noch immer über ihn lustig macht. Und Shiloh kriegt dann auch direkt ein negatives Bild, weil so, oh, ja, okay, so, ne, das ist ihm dann auch unangenehm. Aber wir gucken mal, was passiert. Actually, Cove does a good Jeremy impression. Why don't you do that instead? Oh, you've got an impression of me, huh? Cove's body stiffened in fear. Jeremy leaned forward just a bit. Sure, go ahead, do it. And Jeremy spoke dispassionately, but dispassionately. Ja, ohne Passion und so, ne? Ihr versteht schon. But it somehow still felt like a dare.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. Cove shifted nervously on his feet and took a deep breath in and out to calm himself. Okay, I can do it. Yay! Amused, you watched as Cove closed his eyes and recalled the memory. His brows furrowed and his mouth pulled into a harsh frown. Oh, everyone is so dumb. There's not a single good thing in the world, and every bad thing happens is targeting me personally. I hate people, and phone calls are stupid. Why does anyone have to talk to me? Okay, vielleicht lassen wir das doch, weil irgendwie kommt es ja doch gut an. Ich hoffe, ihr hört das Staubsaugen im Hintergrund nicht. Nein, eigentlich nicht. Bravo! It's like I've gone back in time. You laughed? Going on vacation is torture. Quietly you nodded in approval. Ich mach mit. Going on vacation is torture. You couldn't help yourself joining in. The shrill tone to your voice broke Cove into a fit of laughter. Jeremy's expression didn't give away a single sign of what he might have been thinking. He stared blankly for the duration of it all. Yep, that sounds about right.
That would be awkward.
I could probably try to do an impression of what I remember you being like back then, but it doesn't seem like you've changed much. I don't want to make you cry. That would be awkward. You could feel Cove bristling next to you as Jeremy spoke so matter-of-factly. It was hard to tell if he meant to be rude or was just making an honest assessment of Cove. Either way, you could tell that your neighbor was taken aback by how Jeremy quickly turned the tables on him. At that confirmation, Shiloh burst into uncontrolled laughter. Even when he calmed moments later, gasping for breath, there was still a wide grin plastered on his face. I can't even imagine Jeremy being like that. I can't imagine him not being like that. They both chuckled again, Cove's mouth pulled into a bent smile. I mean, Jeremy hasn't made fun of my eyebrows once this whole conversation. Unbelievable. Huh? Jeremy blinked and focused all of his attention onto Cove. His eyes unmistakably narrowed in on the eyebrows. He didn't say anything at first, and then his words came out in a mumble. That makes sense. I guess insulting eyebrows was just what I did as a kid. What does that mean? What do you think it means? You were the only kid in the world with bad eyebrows, and you're not the only one I picked on for it. Ach so.
Seriously?
I wasn't? You couldn't help yourself, could you? Nope. Wow. So what made their eyebrows bad? Are you curious if yours are better, by terrible eyebrow standards at least? No. Sigh. Incredulously, Cove looked from Jeremy to you and then back to him again. You had to question if you heard that right. He spoke the word sigh instead of actually sighing. Noticing the reaction, Jeremy sighed for real, but he continued on to answer Cove's question. The guy has particularly odd hair coloring. It's Baxter. White hair, but only on the top of his head. It's Baxter. It's giving Baxter. Every other strand on his body is dark brown, including his immensely bushy eyebrows. He was born that way. It's not dyed. So you were the scarred boy with dumb, wavy eyebrows, and he was the white-haired boy with stupid caterpillar eyebrows. Ow. Unexpectedly, a loud gasp came from Shiloh at that description. Ach so. Ja, okay, ich habe zum Glück gesagt, it's giving Baxter. It's giving Baxter. No, you picked on Pran for his eyebrows? I did. I'm sure you find that hilarious. No, that's not very funny. So he said, but Shiloh was smothering laughter. The unconvinced note in Jeremy's voice didn't surprise you. Okay, wait. Give me a second. Let me just... Jeremy rolled his eyes in the slowest, most exaggerated way possible. When he made a complete circle, he spoke flatly while Shiloh broke into a fit of giggles. There. Who's Pran? Shiloh knows him too?
Well,
Jeremy and Pran have known each other for a long time. They managed to go to the same boarding school later on. I met them both there in the spring of last year. We're all group mates. Jeremy's gaze slid away from Shiloh. He looked somewhere between you and Cove. Pran and I met about 4.5 years ago, back when I was still an intolerable brat and Pran was meek. Was ist meek? What is meek? Sanftmütig. Sanftmütig, okay. You can only imagine how amazing that combination was. Yeah, it must make those group meetings awkward. Nope. Somehow, someway, for some reason, Pran chose to stubbornly stick with me for as long as we've known each other. He's my best friend. What? It's surprising, I know. I have a best friend and it's the caterpillar brow guy of all people, but I guess things balanced out in the end. Pran's timid nature is good and dead. He grew up to be colder than even me. I'm moppy and he's broody. A perfect match. Was ist jetzt das? Moppy and broody? Warum muss ich jetzt heute so viel googeln? Moppy and broody. Moppy ist trübsinnig und broody brütend. Muss man das verstehen? Two-piece in a ruining everyone's life pot. Geil.
Gross.
And don't quote Everett. Cove whined after Jeremy snapped his last remark. Now who's Everett? You don't want to know. Yeah, you don't want to know. Shiloh hummed and he watched his 3 old friends with an amused smile. He was having fun before you could say anything. Jeremy continued. Everett is also a part of the group, unfortunately. But he chose not to elaborate further than that. Liz sighed this time. You could feel her frustration. You couldn't blame her for that. She hadn't been able to participate much at all. She didn't know Jeremy then, so there was no basis for reminiscing now, and there was a 10-year gap in her history with Shiloh. The whole situation struck an odd chord with you. 2 boys that you knew separately came to know each other, and now they know each other much better than they know any of you. Shiloh was almost a stranger. You shrugged the feeling off. You didn't know how to feel. You were on the same page as Liz. You felt down. You were glad things seemed to be going alright. You felt annoyed by how things unfolded. You shrugged the feeling off. It was a weird twist of fate, but nothing worth getting upset over. All of you were breaking out to live your own lives. It was just a part of growing up. Turning to the 3 of you, Shiloh smiled apologetically. You wondered if he was picking up on how in the dark Cove and Liz were feeling. He was perceptive when he wanted to be. Hey, is there anything you want to hear about Jeremy? I can tell you all about him. We should get to know each other better. Ich fühle die beiden richtig. Die sind so knuffig miteinander. Don't do that. It'll be okay. Jeremy whined, but Shiloh brushed his complaints off. He remained happily focused on the rest of you, and Liz seemed to perk up at the conversation shift. That sounds great. We should get to know Jeremy. So, who wants to go first? Despite being eager, it was obvious that Liz didn't have any ideas herself. Jeremy let out a very long sigh. Wow, okay, Chat. Can I get his number? Steht hier. Can I get his number? Was nehmen wir denn? When's his birthday? What's his full name? Can I get his number? What are his parents like? Does he have any siblings? Does he have any hobbies? Is he doing well in school? How tall is he? What happened to his bowl-cutting glasses? Ach, stimmt. What did happen at the amusement park? Is he single? I don't have any questions. Oh mein Gott, ich habe viele Fragen. Leute, viele Fragen, okay? Also erstmal, wann sein Geburtstag ist, interessiert mich eigentlich nicht. Was sein voller Name ist, interessiert mich nicht, weil es ist Jeremy. Seine Nummer brauche ich nicht. Wie seine Eltern wirklich sind, interessiert mich auch nicht. Es interessiert mich auch nicht, ob er Geschwister hat. Aber was hat er eigentlich durchaus für Hobbys? Does he have any hobbies? Reading and crafty handiwork type of stuff. Oh, and archery. Archery. Jeremy is really talented. Oha. Seriously? That's really cool. Jeremy scoffed at the compliments. He clearly wanted to move on from the conversation. Ich will auch für Shiloh. Ja, okay, für Shiloh. Wir fragen für Shiloh, weil Shiloh ist klein. Shiloh ist so groß wie wir. Also glaube ich, also so ungefähr, ne? Aber how tall is he? Oh. Well, das ist immer noch größer als ich. 5'5". He's kinda short. Well, ja, also 5'5" ist, glaube ich, so ein Mittelding zwischen 1,65 und 1,67 so ein Ding. Oder? So. Feet and inches, please. 5'5". Convert. Never mind, er ist nur 1,65 groß. Chat, er ist so groß wie ich. Er ist so groß wie ich. An guten Tagen. An guten Tagen. Ich bin an guten Tagen auch 1,65 groß. An schlechten Tagen 1,63. Im Durchschnitt also 1,64. Das steht auch auf meinem Perso. 1,64. Aber in letzter Zeit fühle ich mich sehr 1,65. Vielleicht bin ich auch ein bisschen der Lulu. Aber dann ist er so groß wie ich. Dann sind die gleich groß. Jetzt würde ich das aber auch fühlen, wenn Shiloh größer ist. Jetzt fragen wir die Fragen für Shiloh. Is he single? Is he single? For Shiloh. Wir fragen Fragen, die Shiloh wahrscheinlich nie fragen würde, aber so weiß er dann auch Bescheid. Und danach fragen wir, was at the amusement park da passiert ist. Is he single? That had Shiloh giggling. He smiled down at the screen. Jeremy isn't in anything official, but he does have someone he goes on dates with from time to time. You call that dating? I call it punishment for all my wrongdoings in this life. Cove scrunched his face and glanced at you like he wasn't sure he heard Jeremy correctly. Shiloh smiled understandingly. Chat, ich glaube, ich hab's. Das heißt, der Freizeitpark könnte auch einer dieser Dates gewesen sein. Und eigentlich meinte Shiloh nicht, er würde gerne mit ihm befreundet sein, sondern mehr als Freunde sein. Ich habe einfach alles durchschaut. Ich habe alles durchschaut. Ich bin gerade richtig enttäuscht. Ich bin gerade richtig enttäuscht. It's complicated. She makes him happy against his will. How unfortunate. Shiloh started chuckling again. Jeremy, on the other hand, let out a loud sigh, clearly down with the current topic. What did happen at the amusement park?
Oh,
I don't actually know. I can only think of one time when we were both there. I'm not sure what part he's talking about. As far as I could tell, I didn't do anything to upset him, and I know he didn't do anything to me. Sigh. That's what you're going with, Shiloh? Jeremy, what happened? I'm not gonna tell you. It's humiliating. And Shiloh knows I'm not gonna say anything. That's why he won't explain either. For several quiet moments, everyone stared at Shiloh and Jeremy in confusion. Shiloh had a similar look on his face before averting his eyes. Sorry, I can't help you with this one, Jenny. Ich will doch einfach nur, dass die beiden... Mano! Ja, okay, das war's. Wollt ihr die anderen Fragen auch noch? Okay, komm, wir gehen einfach mal alle Fragen durch. When's his birthday? May 4th. 4th. He's a Taurus. Oh, Bruder, du hast bald Geburtstag. Du hast am gleichen Tag Geburtstag? Warum habe ich gerade ein richtig krasses Déjà-vu? Ich habe ein heftiges Déjà-vu. Aber du hast an dem gleichen Tag Geburtstag wie Lissy. Lissy ist meine Katze. Jeremy refused to comment on that. Instead, he rolled his eyes. What's his full name? Aua, das tut weh. Jeremy Marion King. Isn't that neat? Why do you even know that? Are you planning on stealing my identity? That got a laugh out of you, Jeremy sighed. You can have it. Okay. Okay, nach seiner Nummer müssen wir jetzt natürlich nicht fragen, ne? Aber what are his parents like? They're nice and optimistic. They work really hard, but they can be smothering, sort of, and usually embarrass Jeremy. Oh nein. I think I remember. Shiloh, Jeremy, Nate, Everett und so weiter. Ich glaube, die Entwickler haben ein Spiel mit diesen Charakteren gemacht und darum geht es gerade. Man kann dort auch einen MC spielen, der da datet, aber nicht wirklich, weil die Gruppen bzw. alle in dieser Gruppe super strange sind. Merkt man ja. Ich glaube, die reden gerade von MC. Ach so. Ah. Schreibt mir das. XOXO Droplets. Ich muss mir das nachher mal angucken. Weil, oh mein Gott, also Butter bei die Fische, ne? Aber wenn man die Möglichkeit hat, einfach mal zu gucken, wie es ist mit Shiloh, mit Jeremy, jetzt wo er so ist. Der ist anders, der ist jetzt akzeptabel. Ja, Nate und Everett, da haben wir jetzt noch nicht wirklich einen Bezug zu, weil wir haben die auch noch nicht gesehen und so, ne? Aber wäre interesting. Jeremy seemed unenthused by Shiloh's answer. Does he have any siblings? No, Jeremy is an only child. He doesn't have pets either. Sag mal, Shiloh, warum weißt du das denn alles? Although Prince spends almost no time with his own family and a lot with Jeremy's. It's kind of like a sibling relationship, Don't bring Pran into this awful thing. Okay. Is he doing well in school? Yeah. Nate is still doing the best, but Jeremy gets respectable scores. Or, unless by doing well you mean to ask if he's having a good time or making friends, then in that case, no, he's not. Shiloh. You weren't sure how to respond to that at all. Glancing back at Jeremy, he rolled his eyes. What happened to his bowl cut and glasses? He had a bowl cut? That sent Shiloh into a fit of laughter, while Jeremy shook his head disapprovingly. Through chuckles, Shiloh continued with his best guess.
Right.
His mom and dad probably decided to that back then, and now he picked. Or they developed new taste over the years. As for his glasses, Jeremy wears contacts at school, and when he's out and about, but he still wears glasses when he's home or working part-time at his parents' hobby shop. Ah. Jetzt bin ich interessiert. Was passiert, wenn wir sagen, can I get his number? Nee, das würde Cove nicht gefallen. Vor allem, was wollen wir jetzt in dieser Storyline mit ihm? That's everything I can think of. Cool, thanks for asking. Cove, do you have any questions for Jeremy? Stunned, it took Cove a moment to recover from being put on the spot. But ultimately, his eyes shifted from Shiloh's and locked with Jeremy's. They remained like that long enough that it was as if they could speak telepathically. Alright, yeah, I have a question, but Shiloh can't answer. Fine, ask me. Sorry. Fine, ask me. Let's get it over with. What do you think of me? Even if you don't think I'm tough or something, do you still feel like I'm stupid or wrong about everything? A crack formed on Jeremy's lackadaisical expression. His barely open eyes lifted a little more, but he still spoke flatly. My opinion on stuff is basically the least important thing you could ever worry about. It's pointless. Well, I'm still asking, so? Cove, right? That's your name? Cove nodded. There was a tint of pink in his cheeks as he bashfully rubbed his arm. Okay, Cove, you seem like a guy who cares a lot about things that don't matter. It sounds pretty dumb to me. I outgrew that years ago. And being as soft as you act, it isn't something that I would ever do, basically. But you know what the absolute dumbest thing really is? Cove shook his head with creased brows. He then leaned forward just a bit like he couldn't risk not hearing what revelation Jeremy was going to bestow on him. Making yourself miserable if you don't have to be. Oh. If you and the rest of the people here have a way to enjoy existence, then you should go ahead and do that. Stay gentle and happy, dumb eyebrow guy. Okay. Ich kann das mit dem nicht mehr.
You have my approval, if that's what you wanted.
You have my approval if that's what you wanted. I hope you all have wonderful lives and suffer as little as possible. Oh, wow. The word tumbled out softly. Cove was earnestly amazed by Jeremy's words.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you know what's not gonna make you stay happy? What? Talking to a donor like me. So really, you should end this conversation right now, and none of you should ever call me again for the rest of our lives. That sounds good. Can I hang up already? Oh wait, Jeremy, I can't never call you again. Shut up, Shiloh. Okay. Shut up, Shiloh. Shut up, Shiloh. Unfazed, Shiloh laughed with a tilt of his head. Building something good up on only to try undercutting it, that's the Jeremy I know. Sorry. Ich kann nicht mehr so, mein Hals tut schon weh vom Tiefreden. The word dripped with sarcasm and was accompanied by a smirk. That was the first time you saw him smile this entire time. Cove piped up meekly, an awkward smile of his own on his face. Maybe my opinion is totally skewed because I'm comparing things now to how Jeremy used to be, but I mean, you don't seem that bad. What? Cove needed to look away from Jeremy's painfully sharp eyes to finish his thought.
I mean,
I'd probably be okay with talking to you again. Sly. Come on, you can have standards. I want to keep talking with Jeremy too. Yeah, Cove, he's pretty cute. I'd be fine with ending this call now. I don't think he is that bad. You had no comment. I want to keep talking with Jeremy too. Jeremy groaned loudly at your acceptance of him. Your smile only widened in amusement and Liz clapped her hands. Wonderful.
Good.
Now that we're so much closer to this Jeremy kid, I think we can all get along together and be friends. Friends? Jeremy repeated the word back like it was a foreign phrase. He genuinely didn't seem to understand. That's right. If we keep working on it, I don't see why the five of us can't be friends. He stared at Liz Hallo? Bruder, ich kann das nicht. Das Wort halt. For several moments. Her expression twisted into fresh confusion of her own. Okay, 3 things. First, I already have one whole friend and that's more than enough. Second, I still don't know who you are. Did you even say your name at any point? And most importantly, third, one of the people in this friendship is Shiloh Fields. He and I aren't gonna be friends. Why not? And I'm Liz, by the way. Because he's Shiloh. Our relationship is already as good as it ever is gonna be. He mercifully leaves me be most of the time, and on the weird occasion where he needs something, I just get it over with. Then he goes away again, and I have modicum of peace. You know how it works, right? You're in it with me. We have the best arrangement possible with the way it is. Oh, das ist gemein. Jeremy looked to Shiloh seriously to back up the validity of their relationship, but Shiloh shook his head with a laugh. I don't try to hang around too much, but that's because you're shy. You're the only one who thinks that setup is actually a good idea. Sorry. Jeremy turned his face to the side and let out another exaggerated sigh. Cove and Liz both joined on Shiloh's mirth. Jeremy got no support.
Sigh.
And his sigh. Of course you'd say that. Why did I even bother? That's Shiloh's famous memory for you. Liz chuckling stopped. Wait. What does that mean, Shiloh's famous memory? What? What? Ah, whatever. Basically, Shiloh annoyingly remembers everything that happens for all of eternity. At least until some piece of info he has isn't helpful anymore, or he's got explaining to do, then magically all of a sudden he doesn't know anything about it. His boldly inconsistent recollection of situations is pretty much a running joke. It's Shiloh's shtick. One of them anyway. Das ist gemein. A scowl dug into Liz's face as Jeremy spoke. Cove lost his smile seeing her reaction. Shiloh remained silent with his big childlike eyes locked on your sister. Jeremy began to shrink away from the screen, and the changing atmosphere he broke eye contact with everyone. I'm guessing he didn't mention that. Oh. I'm guessing he didn't mention that.
No.
No, he didn't. And he said he forgot something to you? I do recall him saying a little thing like that. Sorry. But well, apparently you had the pleasure of meeting Nate. You know me, and I talked a bit about Pren, and Everett too. We're all in that unbearable group, and we're all unbearable people. What an amazing coincidence, huh? What we're about is kind of hard to hide. What we're about is kind of hard to hide. I'm gonna go now. I don't want to be the fifth wheel to your own little group. You three people have a good day, I guess. And Shiloh, I'll see you back at school.
Bye.
Bye. Danke. Oh, jetzt muss ich nicht mehr so tief reden, ey. Holla die Waldfee. Jeremy promptly ended the call. Just as people had begun to warm up to him, he accidentally found a new way to ice the mood again. Shiloh, now averting his own gaze, put his phone away and chuckled.
So...
I knew that Jeremy didn't think highly of me, but it's even worse than I thought. That's really sad. Shiloh. Her firm tone immediately brought Shiloh's focus back to her. Once she got his attention, however, Liz's voice became small. When we first met you in the city, did you know who we were? Did you pretend not to recognize us? The two old friends watched each other for a beat, but ultimately Shiloh closed his eyes with a loop-sided smile. Oh, Lizzie, you've got to know I could never really forget you. Liz was speechless, but it wasn't quite. Kov couldn't stop himself from shouting out. Oh my god, you were lying to them? Was passiert hier gerade? Lying is a strong word. I was improvising. That was cruel, Shiloh. Yep, that makes way more sense that you're not figuring it out. You didn't really mind, but we're instead concerned about why he felt that was the best option. You're crazy and a liar. You smirked and thought Shiloh was pretty bold. You didn't have any idea what to say to that. Ich bin grad sprachlos. You opened your mouth to speak, but there was nothing. Go home, Shiloh. Or go to my house and wait there until we can send you home.
All right.
Okay. With his shoulders dipped and head low, Shiloh obediently left the park alone. After he disappeared up the road, Liz sat her butt down right into the sand with no concern for how dirty her dress might get this time. You went after Shiloh to confront him. You went after Shiloh just to talk to him. You crouched down with your sister. Oh, das ist jetzt schwierig. Wir reden mit Shiloh. You went after Shiloh just to talk to him. Watch Liz, I'll be back.
What?
What? You didn't give him an explanation. You just shot out of the park after Shiloh. You caught up with him on your neighborhood street. He must have noticed your footsteps because he was standing still in the middle of the road waiting. You couldn't read his expression and he didn't say anything. I want to talk. He smiled while fiddling with the rim of his hat. We will, later. Thanks for trying. And that was it. He turned his back on you, continuing his walk of shame. He wanted to wait, like Liz asked. Even after all this time, he listened to her. There was nothing you could do. You left him there to rejoin the others at the park. Kov seemed concerned for you when you arrived, but you quickly reassured him when you sat down. He nodded and gave you space by your sister. She hadn't moved from where you had first left her. However, your presence caused her to stir. Stir. You can go. We're done. Cove shared an unsure look with you. She wanted to be alone, but this wasn't the time for that. We're not going anywhere. Accepting that you were going to be there for this, she let out a groan. At the same time, Liz pulled the sides of her head down, gripping it tightly in frustration. I can't believe you pretended he didn't know us. Since when was Shiloh too good to catch up with acquaintances? It's infuriating. Am I an idiot for thinking we could talk? You wrapped your arms around her, you leaned against her, you took her arm, you watched her cautiously. Aua. You watched her cautiously. Beziehungsweise wir sind ja schon ein bisschen touchy, ne? You leaned against her. You wiggled over even closer to your big sister, so your shoulders were touching, and you let your head rest on her. She kept her head down. No, you're not an idiot. He's the idiot. Charlotte lied to us. That's not your fault. No, you're smart and talented and amazing. Liz, I'm sorry. No, you're not an idiot. Yeah, Shiloh's a tool.
Fine.
I know I shouldn't care. It doesn't matter if one person doesn't want to be my bestie. He's not the greatest man on earth. I'll be fine. But I brought him here all the way from the other side of the state, and I don't even know why he did any of this. Liz finally removed her hands from the brim of her head in order to rub at her temples instead. It blows. Cove snorted some nervous laughter at her unexpected phrasing. She didn't mind it. It's true, but you'll always have me. Say the word and I'll force the answers out of him. I bet he's just intimidated by successful women. Liz, if we ever see that guy again, I'll hurl him into the ocean. We'll have so much fun without him. He has no idea what he'll be missing out on. I'm here for you, Liz, through thick and thin, no matter what. Yes, das.
Thank you.
Thanks, baby sister. Oh Mann, ich finde das so toll, wie die sich entwickelt haben, ne? Die haben sich so gehasst als Kinder. Die haben sich die ganze Zeit geärgert und so. Und jetzt sind die halt so richtig unzertrennlich. Thanks, baby sister. She squished you tight and rocked you back and forth in a dramatic hug. You let out a Cove-like squeak. I love you. I love you too. And what is family for? Well, I thought it was for hugging on the phone while growing up, but this works. She released you with a shaky, self-impressed laugh. Oh, and thank you to Cove for being around. We're going to officially be... Chat, ihr habt's gehört. Liz will es so, also wird es so passieren. We're going to officially be family one day, right? She shot him a wry smile and he tensed up, face going red. He was willing to take her teasing if it made her feel better. Don't mention it. Good. Liz rested her eyes after those last couple words. It eased your heart to see her feel better. Cove let out a soft sigh of relief. Hey. Cove then brought his face close to yours so he could speak in a whisper.
Are you okay?
Are you okay? I know Liz was his best friend, but you knew him too, and you were there when he did this whole pretend improvisation act. Don't worry about me. I'm okay. I'm sad. I'm furious. I don't know how I feel. You didn't say anything. Wir sind ganz im Ernst. Wir wissen nicht, was das war. Dementsprechend so, ja, ich habe noch keine Ahnung. I don't know how I feel. That makes sense. I feel like he doesn't deserve to be gone for 10 years and suddenly mess with everybody's emotions. Cove ended his checkup by reaching over to pat you on the shoulder reassuringly. Your longtime neighborhood group sat together quietly in the sand, just enjoying the feeling of familiarity and support. You weren't entirely sure how much time passed, but you were eventually caught off guard by a soft call in the distance. In unison, the three of you turned your heads to the sound, and there, standing at the edge of the playground, was Shiloh himself. He waved. You moved in front of Liz protectively, you huddled closer to Liz nervously, you huddled closer to Cove nervously, you flipped him off, you froze in place, you simply waited there. You simply waited. You wanted to give him a chance. You've got a lot of nerve, Shiloh. It's a good thing your name is Fields, because I'm going to put you in the ground. No one wants you here. Do you have something to say? I will punch you in the face. You didn't speak. Do you have something to say? What's that? I couldn't hear you from over there, but don't get up on my account. I'll come to you. Yeah. No! Hä? You knew he heard what you said, yeah? Shiloh approached with easy strides as if he had been welcomed. You were floored with how much confidence or shamelessness the boy was apparently capable of now. Liz turned her face and refused to acknowledge what was happening. She might have been trying to think happy thoughts and wish Shiloh's presence away. Unfortunately, it didn't work. When Shiloh arrived, he flopped down into the sand with the rest of you, his legs folded crisscross.
Hi.
Sag mal, Siri, war Shiloh bei dir genauso? Hi. Leave. Seriously. Get lost. Oh mein Gott, das ist so gemein. Aber, what? Ich verstehe gerade gar nichts mehr. Das ist so ein Durcheinander. I will, in just a minute. What do you want now? Well, I figured you want to talk to me after you had some space. I ought to let you do that, even if you're gonna yell at me. Liz finally faced him to be free to snap at Shiloh with full force. And why in the world would you think that? Unfazed, Shiloh looked back at her softly. You haven't changed that much, Lizzie. You're the one who found me online when I brushed you off earlier this summer. When have you ever preferred leaving something unresolved in the end? You didn't even get a chance to make me explain why I did it. I bet you're dying to do that. Liz ground her teeth, quietly fuming. Shiloh had called it right, and that sucked for her. Fine. I'll bite. Give me your excuses. Well, mostly it was really bad timing. I could have handled it a lot better if I had known I was going to see you that day, and if there wasn't a self-appointed hall monitor dutifully watching every move people made. And a "hi, good to see you, gotta go" was simply too much for your little heart to manage? Of course, the goal was to keep as much distance as possible. Admitting I was the guy you knew wouldn't have been helpful. Hä? Yes, das ist in einem Droplets-Game ähnlich. Die Leute da sind unterschiedlich gestört, problematisch, kann mich aber nicht gut erinnern. Ich bin gerade so verwirrt. Das ist für mich so heftig. Also, ich kann mit Ping-Pong umgehen, ne? Ich kann mit Ping-Pong-Menschen umgehen. Aber das ist mir gerade so viel Ping-Pong, ich komme nicht hinterher, den Ball zu sehen. Okay? Ich bin gerade, mein Kopf dröhnt schon. So you can't stand us, and me trying to reconnect was just a huge pain for you after all. Amazing, wonderful, thank you so much for saying so. No, that's not it. Don't feel bad though, you're almost never wrong. Your older sister's brows twitched as she stared at Shiloh in tired disbelief. He smiled back at her brightly. Was mich am meisten gerade sehr kalt lässt, also auch so sehr, ich sag jetzt mal so auf emotionaler Ebene sehr nachdenklich lassen tutet. Ihr wisst schon, was ich meine, ist, dass er die ganze Zeit dabei lächelt. Als könnte er sich nicht in die emotionale Lage von anderen versetzen. Beziehungsweise auch nur irgendwie annähernd so versuchen zu verstehen. Und so, wisst ihr, was ich meine? I did it so this wouldn't happen. What? I dealt with the situation. I dealt with it with that situation the way I always do, by saying stuff I didn't exactly mean, because it's just easier that way. You heard Jeremy. It's what I'm known for. Sure, right now you're mad at that I pretended not to remember you, but if I hadn't done that, it would have been something else later on and we'd have ended up here still. Ja, aber yes, alles kalkuliert, nicht emotional, genau. This anger became more and more difficult for her to maintain. It was soon replaced with a sad confusion. Then don't do that. Don't be like that. Why not be someone you're actually okay showing me? Shiloh chuckled uncomfortably and searched for a way to explain himself to his former idol. I wouldn't have made you sad if I could have avoided it. I mean that. I thought I could at least finish this visit without issues. Jeremy wasn't someone I expected to call me out. That's pointless to him usually. Und ich glaube, Jeremy hat das zwar nicht ganz bewusst gemacht, aber so wie er auf mich jetzt in dieser kurzen Sequenz gewirkt hat, war das irgendwie so, wir haben gesagt, ja, du bist eigentlich jetzt wieder, du bist ganz okay, du bist gar nicht mehr so arschig wie vorher, so I'm sorry für die Wortwahl und so, ne? Und ich glaube, er hat das wertgeschätzt, so irgendwo ganz tief im Inneren, ohne es bewusst wahrgenommen zu haben, und hat dann im Prinzip gesagt, so, ja, wenn ihr mit Shiloh befreundet seid, dann solltet ihr das eigentlich auch wissen, und falls nicht, dann bitteschön, jetzt habt ihr die Info, macht damit was. So wirkt die ganze Situation auf mich. Ich bin gerade so verwirrt. Das ist so, der Ball, der springt überall rum. Gefühlt ist es auch nicht mehr ein Ball, das sind 30 Bälle. But I'm not going to be someone whose personality revolves around making you happy. No matter how much I follow others, it wasn't for them. Every decision was mine. I couldn't be in charge, so being a sidekick to the best option was something I did for my sake. I choose to let people be the boss when it's what I need, and I chose where to stop it. And the best I can do for you now is spare you from dealing with it. I'm not as earnest as you are. I'm not as nice as you are. I was always like that, even as a kid. Back then I wanted to fit in, even if it meant excluding someone else. If they were the odd one out, that'd be mean. I wasn't. Finding my place here got harder when Cove moved in. It was a good thing for everybody that I ended up moving myself soon after that. Was? You were speechless? That's horrible. I knew it. I was sure you weren't being honest back then. You felt bad for him hearing that? Huh? Okay, then. You didn't want to say it out loud, but you had always suspected that. Ganz im Ernst, könnt ihr euch noch daran erinnern, wo Shiloh und Cove sich ein bisschen gezankt haben? Also, die haben sich ja ein bisschen auch so beleidigt und sowas und waren dann auch ein bisschen pisst und so, ne? Da habe ich auch schon gesagt so, was ist denn da los? Da war ich auch schon so, da habe ich die Fühler auch schon so ausgestreckt und war so, was? Was ist das? Aber ich weiß jetzt nicht, ob ich einfach nur sage, ich bin einfach nur sprachlos, das alles zu hören. Oder ob wir so sagen, so, ja, wir haben es schon irgendwo mal ein bisschen vermutet, aber sind nie darauf weiter eingegangen, weil Shiloh war halt einfach Shiloh. Wir haben uns gefreut, wenn er da war. Nee, ich bin einfach nur speechless. Ne? You were speechless. Und mal dazu gesagt, wenn jemand so sagt, so ja, wenn jemand irgendwie so Probleme hat, ja, mit seinem Charakter und sein Charakter ist nicht so ganz schlüssig in dem, was er tut und so und in dem Handeln der Person, man muss nicht immer sofort versuchen, die Person zu verstehen und zu hinterfragen, ja, warum hat er das gemacht? Du kannst als erste Reaktion, du bist auch nur ein Mensch, du hast deine eigenen Emotionen und die sind berechtigt. Du darfst dich in dem Moment auch erstmal beleidigt sein, du darfst auch erstmal total emotional reagieren, du kannst auch sprachlos sein, du musst nicht sofort sagen, okay, du hast mich jetzt, keine Ahnung, du hast mich das ganze Leben 10 Jahre lang, jetzt beispielhaft, hintergangen. Ich versuche es jetzt mal zu verstehen. Nein, du darfst emotional das fühlen, was du fühlst. Deswegen, speechless. Ich bin einfach sprachlos gerade. It was so much to have to suddenly accept. I knew that's essentially how you were back then. You were a scaredy cat who wanted someone to defend you.
Jeez!
I simply imagined that in the past 10 years you grew out of that and learned how to speak to others like, I don't know, an actual grown-up human being. Well, in my defense, I'm not an adult yet. I won't be 18 until later this year in October. October 30th. 30. Oktober. You remembered. So did you, punk. Shiloh chuckled self-consciously as Liz smirked at him. There was an affable moment before she became serious again. I liked you when we were kids. I wanted to know you now. That's what upset me the most, the idea that maybe you only wanted to be rid of your old friends.
Aw.
Oh, Lizzie, you're too good to need someone like me in your life. That's the truth. I'm not worth the effort. Alter, was ist denn da los? Was ist denn da los? Except for with unusual people who have odd taste. And then she straightened up in the sand, brushing her dress back out. That's an incredible, annoying thing to say. It's insane. You've only changed in stupid ways and stayed the same for the rest. And that's fair. Is it? It means maybe I have unusual taste. You could have stuffed Shiloh's entire head into his mouth with how wide he opened it. Really? Well, as much as Mother Hen being compelled to look out for the chick, no matter how useless they are, is unusual. I can't help it. You haven't changed that much after all, either. You're still Shiloh. You're painfully still Shiloh.
You're welcome.
I brought you here and I'm not gonna abandon you. It has to be someone's job to look out for and keep an eye on you. With her surety returning, she pulled herself up off the ground and glowered down at Shiloh with her arms folded. No, I do want an apology for everything done behind our backs when you could have opened with all of that you just said. You should have given us a real chance to stay at home. Or stayed home. This stunt was rude to me and Jenny and Cove too. As if bringing the baby chick comparison to life, Shiloh dutifully did as he was told.
Sorry.
Sorry, Lazy Jenny, Cove, everyone. I didn't want to cause problems or ruin the day. And you don't have to accept just cause I'm saying it. Not everybody needs to like everyone. Alright then. You were kind of mean sometimes when we were kids. Das meinte ich. But I wasn't very nice to you either. Ja, aber das war was anderes. All this recent stuff isn't really something to make about me, so I'm not gonna hold on to it. I mean, as long as you're not gonna keep upsetting people from now on. Thanks, Cove. I'll avoid doing that in the future. He then changed his focus to you. His expression was curious. He wanted to know where your feelings landed on him. Were you pretending to have a good time with us today? I'll accept your apology. I'm not forgiving you. Don't even think about it. You couldn't give him a straight answer. You shouldn't forgive him. That's crazy. You gave him a faint smile, feeling sort of relieved. You couldn't give him a straight answer. Jenny, do you want to stay for what's left of the evening? You don't have to. As you got to your feet, you thought about it. ich überziehe gerade so dermaßen und Brezelchen, willkommen zurück. Da ist ja noch wer online. Ja, weil der Moment so lange dauert. Wir sind schon 2 Stunden, 5 Minuten in der Aufnahme. Ja. You did and there was a reason for it. I still like Shiloh. If Liz is looking out for Shiloh, someone has to look out for her. I'm kind of interested to see what will happen next. I'll stick around. I just feel sorry for you, Shiloh. I want us to stay together. Na. Das ist jetzt schwierig. I'm kind of interested to see what will happen next. I'll stick around. Ich weiß nicht. Es ist schwierig. I want us to stay together. Stretching your arms over your head, you glance at Liz. Despite how the things Shiloh admitted made stuff awkward, you had no intention of going anywhere. Shiloh jumped to his feet, straightening his cap on the landing. Lynn would be so proud you didn't all leave. Cove rose as well, but with a groan. Another groupmate?
Nope.
No, he's our group supervisor. He's also friends with my mom. And if you're still wondering, that group is for people who have difficult to deal with attitudes. Jeremy and Nate being in it makes a lot of sense, huh? Shiloh spoke simply and finished his thought with a breezy shrug. Liz sighed loudly and then she smiled ruefully at him. Jeez, Shiloh. You've certainly made yourself other people's problems since leaving. Well, now you all know me better too. Thanks for sharing. A small smirk appeared on her face as she watched Shiloh. You didn't fail to notice the hint of sarcasm in her voice. And thank you, Jenny. Accompanied by a warm smile, this tone was sincere. I can keep hanging out with everyone too? Sheepish, Cove rubbed his arm. Liz's smile stretched into a grin at that news. Aw, thanks for sticking around. Well then, what now? The four of you stared at each other in silence until Shiloh tentatively made a suggestion. Would anyone want to build a sandcastle? That sounds ideal. Ideal? Your older sister began to truly relax again, and you were glad to see it. Glancing at Cove, you nodded in agreement with Liz. Yeah, I like that idea too. It had been a long time since you last built a sandcastle together. You were already looking forward to burying your feet in the sand. Then we're all agreed. Come on, gang, let's go play at the beach. The sun was far across the sky when the four of you trailed down from the park to the shore in comfortable silence. It was hard not to think back on how familiar it all felt. You never thought the four of you would ever be here together again. It wasn't long before you were sitting on the wet ground, busily pushing as much sand as possible into a lump. You all worked together quietly, but every so often a chuckle would drift through because of the castle's lopsided development. At one point, Cove stretched his legs out completely and the incoming wave started reaching his toes. He initially was caught off guard and almost jumped into the castle, but ultimately didn't resist the water. After that, the group worked with purpose to finish before the ocean could tear it all down, though even still Liz ended up taking time to be particular about the castle's rudimentary design. Shiloh, of course, backed up all her plans. Cove was a dissenting voice, wanting to keep things more laid back. Things got pretty boisterous. Being there and doing this with Cove, Liz and Shiloh, it felt weirdly different, yet also weirdly the same. So, what happened with the amusement park? You were pretending not to know, weren't you? Ah. Both of you and your sister glanced at Shiloh, silently re-asking the question. Under the weight of all three of you taking a turn to ask about it, Shiloh finally gave in. I might have an idea of what he meant.
So...
The thing is, there's someone we're both familiar with, and she asked Jeremy to the amusement park on time. He accepted but just complained about it, so I suggested that maybe me and her should go together. Jeremy also agreed that it'd be more fun to go around the park with me. That's what he meant when he said he was on my side. She still went with him, and now Jeremy is embarrassed to admit not that he was turned down, but that he was the preferred option then. It's hard to believe. Warte mal, ich verstehe gerade gar nichts mehr. Was? She still went with him, and now Jeremy is embarrassed to admit not that he was turned down, but that he was the preferred option then. It's Naja. Anyway, Jeremy could think that I'm mad I got passed over, but it doesn't matter if she said yes or no. All that counts is if she knows I'm totally there when she needs it. And she does. Aha, sure, Shiloh, you're so reliable. I know, right? Okay, thanks for telling us.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Absent-mindedly, you twisted your fingers in the sand, thought about everything Shiloh said today. It was still bothering you, but to some degree it all felt kind of like closure. And not just with Shiloh, but also with Jeremy, of all people, the old villain of that one summer from long ago. Just like old times, the four of you stayed on the beach until night fell and the moon was high in the sky. Then the time had come to say goodbye. Shiloh needed to get back to his mom and back to where his life truly was. The four of you walked up to the neighborhood street as one, tight smiles covering the familiar faces around you. You never could have seen where the day was heading when it started. However, you appreciated the opportunities it brought you in the end. After that, Shiloh disappeared from Sunset Bird once again. Though this time it wasn't heartbreaking or hard to understand. This time it was just another part of life. And it helped that Liz had her own phone and laptop and could easily check in on him time to time. That was nice too. Ein glücklicher Zufall. Ein glücklicher Zufall. So hieß es. Serendipity. Ja, okay. Ich lasse das so stehen. Ich muss jetzt erstmal verarbeiten. Ich denke, ihr auch. Das waren jetzt 2 Stunden 12. Fast, nee, 2 Stunden 13 gleich. Reinste emotionale Achterbahnfahrt. Ich bin immer noch sprachlos. Aber ich hoffe, es hat euch trotzdem gefallen. Und dann sehen wir uns das nächste Mal wieder mit hier Charity. Und dann sage ich, Tschüssi YouTube.